Good morning. Oh my god, that face. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Tim Mobest, and I'm joined by my wonderful friend, Kylo Ren expert and digital artist, VooDoo Val. On my
Hi, everybody.
Left. No, right. On the stream. I don't know. The image is flipped on my side.
I'm here. I'm on the screen.
Right there. Right next to me, as everybody knows. All right. So welcome, right, everybody. Hey, Akin. Hey, Austin, Mohammed, Anthony, Justin, Noah, Justin again. Hey, Alberto. And Jan Eric, thank you very much for that message. Yes, I do have to up my avatar game. I know. I sent Paco like the most easiest to key out background, and he just put in a white background. I don't know. Maybe I just have to put in some new memes. Maybe you can send me any from the stream.
You should have put him in space, Paco. Why didn't you put him in space?
Well, that's right. Where's Jesus? That stream already happened, because we do have an entire day today. This isn't the only stream for today. We do have an entire day today on Adobe Live. Hang on, that chat and win counter doesn't seem right. There we go. At 9 a.m. Pacific time, so earlier today, Jesus Ramirez already showed us the first daily creative challenge. Right now you're watching this stream with VooDoo Val and myself, and after that Andrea Hawk will join us for the XD Daily Creative Challenge. And finally, to close the day, Peter, Evan and David will work in XD at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure to stick around the entire day, win some things, submit your work. We will review it on stream, because the first challenge already happened today, and I believe let me check what was today's challenge. Just pull it up. Create dramatic animal portrait by adding highlights and shadows with dodge and burn and smudge tools, and you have a starter.
That sounds awesome.
We will review that later during the stream, but first, for those of you who haven't joined us yesterday, Val, who are you, and what are you doing here?
That's so dramatic, Tim.
What are you doing here?
My name is VooDoo Val. I'm a digital painter, and I'm going to pull up my Behance real quick so I can show you guys some of my work. I kind of specifically do like a lot of portraits and stuff. Portraits are my favorite things to do. So I can kind of like show off some of my portraits that aren't like horrifying, maybe some of the less spooky ones.
That's a great idea.
I don't know if any of those exist. Yeah, I do a lot of like spooky portraits and stuff. Portraits are my favorite things. And so I'm doing portraits for you guys today. I'm kind of doing like a 2-day, I guess, like crash course on how I do portraits, how I start from like a sketch and go into a colored painted image. And so yeah, I've done like some portraits. I've done like a lot of Star Wars fan art because I'm a big Star Wars nerd. That's really? Pretty much like part of. Oh yeah, really? Ooh.
I didn't know
Nobody knew this about me. But I've done a lot of Star Wars stuff and a lot of like generally creepy, strange artwork. That's kind of my jam. I'm trying not to be as creepy as I usually am on the stream today, but we'll see. I'm about to like do colors today, so I might be creepy with the colors and less creepy with the subject matter of what we're working on. Speaking of which, I'm going to pull up what I worked on yesterday. I started this brief painting of this like sort of pirate woman yesterday. I went over the sketch lines and stuff that I had prepared for you folks yesterday and added some basic values and things. And then what I actually did, I did a little bit of work off of the stream because I wanted to make sure that I absolutely had enough time to color and paint up our painting today, and we are limited on time, so I wanted to make sure I got through it all. So what I did was I actually turned the opacity down on this painting here, and then I did a sketch layer over the top of it, so that I have like the final like sketch iteration that adds just like a little more detail and makes things a little more interesting on our painting here. And I suppose like compared to some of the other portraits that I've done, I didn't really focus too much on like the composition of this painting and making it look super interesting. The basic thing that I wanted to do for these 2 days was show you folks like how I paint. Essentially. And I also, just so you folks know, if I come over here and show you the Discord, I have actually shared these 2 images. They're just JPEG images of the previous version of this painting and the newer line art in the chat section of the Photoshop Discord. And I also pinned it there. So if you guys have never used pinned messages in the chat before, all you have to do is come up to the top here and hit that pinned messages thing, and you can actually scroll around in there and find, you can actually say see all pins, and it should show you all of the pins that are pinned to any given channel. Right. So you guys can find it even after I scroll.
And speaking of chat, we do have two things. First of all, a chat and win, right? So make sure to stick around. Stick around. Get it? Stick on you, right? Ha 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 ha. Okay. It will get worse from now on. We do have a chat and win for those who have never joined us before. I will explain everything you need to know when it's time for chat and win. And second of all, let's take a brief look at the chat and see who is there, because I saw some questions already in the chat. Let me just check. Hi, Jan. 200 people watching right now. No one enter, no one leave. It must stay like this. Yeah, that's right. Which chat channel? This one you're in right now on behance.net/live. If you're not watching on Behance, come on over be.net/live. That's where the main conversation is happening. And let's just scroll up for a second to see. Hi, Dharma. Hi, Steve. Hey, Sam. Hi, Kathleen.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, there is indeed a Bob Ross marathon on Twitch, but who would want to watch Bob Ross for 24 hours? But not right now. This is way more important right now. Stay here. You're not allowed to leave. Okay. And let's just check. Val, Star Wars. We're sure it's not Star Trek. Yeah, Val is a huge Star Trek fan, as everybody knows.
All right, guys, it's been fun hanging out with you, but I gotta dip out. I gotta go. Thanks for joining me for the stream, but
live
now
long
I'm
and
being
prosper,
slandered.
Harry. Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Right?
Whoa. No, I think it's your wizard, Frodo.
Oh,
Magneto,
that's right. That's right, Shauna, isn't it? Yeah, okay. And Alberta says, let's get weird. That's right, let's get weird today.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm into that. Let's do it.
And I believe that's all I can see from the questions from the chat right now. There's another one. Why are you just here for 2 days? I don't know. I guess they didn't want to hire me for more days. They thought, like, Tim, who's that guy? Bah, we won't hire him again. So let's just do 2 days. But maybe if you like this stream, who knows, maybe we will be back. And also, please tell us, is the audio better today? I've heard we had some issues yesterday, so let us know. Is everything all right? Can you hear us? Should I talk louder? Should I come more closer to the microphone? All right.
Like velvet in my ears.
Tim is too expensive. Yeah, that's right. They didn't want to send me like the $1 million I requested, like $1 million. Okay.
Noel with the slaps brush head vigorously at the Bob Ross, where he just is like, now just dab it. Just give it a whack.
Please don't do that with the pencil.
Yeah. Please, just.
I'll tell your boss that I'm doing a great job. Well, that's very kind of you, Kathleen. Thank you. All right. So audio is great. That's great. I think that's all we have to. All right. We will review your work for the challenge. So make sure to submit it within the next, hour and 20 minutes. I will show you a countdown in the lower right corner, and I will explain everything you need to know. But right now, I guess everyone is just waiting to see what Val is doing right now, because let's go over to your screen and let's get started with your drawing and painting and rendering. Discussed yesterday.
We're going to get into it. So, I do have the slight undervalues that we did yesterday, and then I have my new sketch that you guys also have in the Discord. I just kind of added some cool, like, weird piratey things onto her just to make her a little more ornate, I suppose. So what I'm going to do really quick is I am going to do one more very quick run of values underneath. I'm just making a new layer here. I use a lot of hotkeys too, by the way. So if you have any questions about what hotkeys I'm using and what I'm doing, feel free to ask. One thing I do want to point out, something that's kind of useful if you're working on a painting like this and you happen to have either multiple monitors while you're doing this, or you just want to do this on the same monitor. Something that you can do to keep your eye on the ball, so to speak. We talked about this yesterday when it came to not really zooming in too close on your canvas to your image, and not just focusing on one small piece of your painting. Something interesting that you can do, if you come up to Window and Arrange, and scroll all the way down to the arrange area, you can say new window for your file. And then what you can do is you can grab a file and you can bump it to like the very edge. Let's see if we can do this. There we go. You can bump it to the edge. So you have two files open, or two instances of the same file open. And then in one of these, I can zoom in and I can paint and stuff, and then it'll show up stroke by stroke in the other file. So I can keep one file open and full screened. And maybe we can even bump it over just so that I can keep my eye on the painting as a whole. And then I can zoom in on this one and do whatever I want, you know, and then it'll just show up and update on awesome. The other monitor. Yeah. So that's actually all the coloring and painting I'm going to do.
That's it from us today. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
We already have some questions in the chat. Like, are you using a drawing tablet? And if so, which kind? Which one?
I'm using Wacom Cintiq 13 HD. I'm using the old model, so it's like the clunky one with tons and tons of different chords for some reason. I don't know, but it works. It does the job. It's about the size of like a larger iPad, and it works very well.
And Noah has a question: do you prepare your color palette in advance, or do you freestyle?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I have a basic idea of what I'm going to be doing as far as color palette today, and I am going to like throw some colors on after a while. But I don't have like a very strict color palette for today because I to be honest, I've changed my mind a lot about what I'm going to be doing, and I think that I didn't used to. I used to just like choose one thing and then stick to it. But I figured like I don't want to really lock myself into a specific color palette that you folks are going to be like eager and like ready to see by the end of the stream. Because if I decide that I'm going to change my mind, I don't want to be like, psych, I'm not going to do what I said
Surprise.
I would. Yeah, surprise, not doing that today. But yeah, I typically it's something that I had to learn to get more comfortable with. Honestly, because I think that for a long time I was holding myself to like certain expectations that were a little bit unrealistic. Like I would be like, okay, I want to do a painting like this, you know, have like an idea in my head of how something was going to go. And if I couldn't achieve that 100% perfectly to like my standards and my idea that I had in my head, then I felt like I failed that painting. And so now I'm a lot more laid back with how I plan things out, unless I'm doing like a commission or something. And I don't typically stick to any one thing, one idea, although I do attempt a lot of different ideas and things while I'm working.
And all right, if you have any questions, do let us know in the chat on behance.net/live. If you're watching this on YouTube, behance.net/live. Post any questions you like Val to answer. I will do my best to interrupt Val and be rude and ask the questions. And
yes.
I will read the chat the entire time. So, for example, some people are asking, hey, which color are you going to use? I bet there will be a lot of red and a lot of purple. Maybe
there is going to be a lot of red and blue.
Maybe that's a question for chat and win. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. If you folks wanna suggest colors for chat and win, that would be cool.
Not yet. Wait. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Not right now. Sorry.
Because there will be a timer right below us. Hang on. Let me just. There we go. Now we have a timer. So right below me, you can see the timer. When that timer hits 0, we will do a chat and win, and I will explain everything you need to know to participate. Okay.
Okay. So what I'm doing right now is I'm putting in some basic values that are just kind of setting the stage for how I intend for this to eventually turn out. I'm just adding. I'm like very vague. I'm realizing as I'm explaining.
I just read a message from Kathleen. Is rude in German? Yeah, come on. Are we allowed to be on topic in here? No on-topic conversation, please. Just off-topic.
No.
Thank you very much.
Everyone's got to be. This is like a shenanigan zone. So I shouldn't say that because some of you guys take that invitation too far. Some of you guys would be like, well, VooDoo Val said that we could do nothing that we're supposed to do. So I'm going to be crazy today. Please don't be crazy. Please be nice to us. We love you.
And yes, Susanna, this is the ever-present Tim Mobest. Never realized you had actually appeared on screen until this project. That's not entirely true. I have been on screen, but not only for the, just not for the American streams, for the German streams. I even hosted a challenge and hosted some streams in Munich. So maybe because we will be live from Germany soon, every day for an hour.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
So maybe I will appear on the German streams soon-ish. Who knows?
That would be awesome. I would watch it. 10 out of 10 would watch.
Do I have to hold on the color vote for 14 minutes? Yes, I believe you can do it. I trust you. I believe in you. Tim is popping in Germany. Yeah, no. Okay.
Speaking of like holding down buttons and
holding down buttons, keyboard shortcuts. What are you using right now?
So my main keyboard shortcuts, my go-to. Actually, I highly recommend, especially if you folks are new to Photoshop, figure out what brushes you most use and learn those shortcuts, please. It will cut your production time like almost in half in a lot of cases. For me, it made me so much faster, and it helped me to like stop focusing on the vastness of the program and focus on what I was doing in the program. And that maybe doesn't sound like a huge difference, but it really, really is. So what I like to use is B and E for brush and eraser, obviously is like a pretty good go-to one for me. But I also use Control plus and minus to zoom in and out while I'm doing this. I hold the space bar and I drag around. I hit R and I rotate sometimes. And you can hold shift to snap that into place, by the way. I have routed my own hotkeys to a key command that I prefer, and I think that you can do that. I haven't done that in a while, but I think you can do that by going to, go to edit and then just go to keyboard shortcuts, and you should be able to start routing your own thing. And what I did was I routed flip canvas horizontal to Control Shift A. So I can just hit that real quick and then keep an eye on what I'm painting. While you are painting and illustrating, I highly recommend that you are flipping your canvas whenever possible. Usually after you make like a big change, or just like after you've been working for a little while, because let me tell you, I don't think you like it. Flipping your canvas is like taking a breath of fresh air and I guess clearing your mind and coming back to your painting after like a few hours, except that you do it instantly, and it allows the mind to all of a sudden pick out everything that was wrong with your painting, everything that's out of proportion, everything that looks a little wonky and off. You will be able to see it once you flip your canvas. And if you don't flip your canvas for a long time and you keep like chipping away at a piece, and then all of a sudden you decide, oh yeah, I'm going to flip it now, you might be horrified with the monstrosity you've created if you're not doing it often. So please flip your canvas whenever possible.
Also, Chad has mentioned a great new-ish feature. He said, hold down the grave key to temporarily switch to erase while keeping the same brush. Yes, that's a great shortcut. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on German keyboards, I believe, unless they fixed it. But I don't think
hold down the which key?
The grave key, he said.
What's grave key?
I don't know. It used to be the tilde key, I believe. Key.
Oh, it used to be the tilde key?
Maybe it's still the tilde key. I don't know.
Nope.
Have to find that out. By the way, if you're wondering...
Wait, maybe.
Huh?
Yeah!
Yeah?
Tilde key.
Yes.
Oh man.
If you're wondering which keyboard shortcuts Photoshop is using, there is a page with all the default keyboard shortcuts right here. I can post a link in the chat if you like. So you can just scroll down and see all the tool presets and all the default shortcuts. So you can just check. And also that page is localized for your country. So if you just... It should automatically switch. The German keys might be slightly different from the international keys, so just so you know, I will post the link in the chat.
Okay, I think I might leave my values here, to be honest. There's a lot more value adding that I could do, but for the sake of time, and I think actually like I'm a pretty fast painter in general, but just to make sure that I get this done, I think I'm gonna come to a close right about here on the values. And then like when I get into painting things, it's going to like there'll be more like values in painting. I just want to start laying colors in. So one of the things that I'm going to show you guys today is a really awesome trick that I learned from a wonderful artist by the name of Stevie Ray Drawn. And she showed me this once, and I've been using it ever since. I, as somebody who paints from grayscale to color, I need to be able to look at my values because that's what I understand the best. And some people, even when they are, when they do start in color, it's still a good idea to have some way to check the values of what you're painting, to check like the grayscale version, to make sure you're not going wild with color, but not mixing them properly. So one thing that I do is I'm going to group all this. I typically group like everything. I don't really name my layers because I'm like really bad at keeping that organized, but I typically group everything together whenever I start a new like a new milestone in the painting. So I grouped everything after I finished the values, then I grouped everything after I finished the sketch, then I'm grouping everything now that the basic bones of structure of this are done. And now I'm going to start color. So this shortcut, this hotkey from Stevie Ray Drawn, I am going to paint just like some random colors around here, okay? Just so that I have like something to demonstrate with. So if I'm painting a color, I've got tons of color on my canvas, and I want to check. A lot of people like check the values. A lot of people will put like a black layer. Let me grab my paint bucket here. They'll put like a black layer on color or hue, and then they'll just toggle it on and off. But what is much better is if you go up here to View, Proof Setup, and hit Custom, then you can change this device to simulate to working .gain or .gain 20%. That's what you want to do. And then hit OK. So when you do this, it changes everything into grayscale. And if I hit Control Y, I can toggle back between color and my grayscale. And the coolest thing about that is that if I sample a color while I'm in grayscale, you can see that it actually comes up as me sampling these colors that are here. So I can sample this red and I can scribble down here. And then when I come back into color by going Control Y, I actually paint it in red. So I can be able to kind of continue to paint in color and check my values very quickly throughout my painting with that little trick. And so that's what I use constantly when I'm painting.
And yeah, what am I looking at? I'm looking at my screen because we're not in the same room, not even on the same continent. No. So I have to look at the screen so I see what Val is doing. So if I look into the distance and look like I'm bored or just dozing off, no, I'm watching the stream and the chat.
What's he looking at?
Like,
that's great. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to let me see. I have a.
What does .gain do really? Why .gain? I believe
no idea.
That's
no idea.
Back from the print times. At least, I mean, they're still printing, but this is from print terms, and I believe that's the. I don't know. It's just from the print terms, I believe. Might have to Google that.
So what I'm going to do real quick is I just duplicated the group of my painting and then I merged it. So I have one version that's just one flat layer and another version that's all separated, and I've hidden it. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to select around here the shape. And I know that there's like, we have a lot of really great selection tools now. Like we have like object selection and all kinds of awesome stuff that one could use for this, but I am so used to doing it this way that I'm just going to do it this way for now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select basically the shape of our character here before I start adding the color. And I am going to make a layer underneath it that is its exact shape, because it's kind of transparent at the moment because I've been turning the opacity down on everything about it to add new values and things underneath. I'm going to make like a solid white layer underneath and then merge that together just so that I have the painting exactly as it appears without any transparency areas in it. And then I'm actually going to apply a gradient map. Because sometimes I don't know if that's going to work for this particular painting. Sometimes it does though. Sometimes I can add a gradient map and it actually just like works really, really well to give me a base for the color that I'm doing. So we're gonna experiment with that real quick and we're gonna see how that works. So there's my little selection. I'm gonna make a new layer with Control-Shift-In, and I'm gonna put that underneath. And I'm gonna grab my paint bucket. I'm gonna toggle to white. I'm gonna drop that in there, and then I'm gonna merge those together by selecting them both with Shift and saying Control-E. And then I should have now, if I deselect with Control-D, if I grab some red and then go on the layer underneath, I should be able to paint, yeah, and then there's no transparency under it at all. So it's like its own little isolated thing now. So now I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna come up to, I believe, image adjustments.
Just 1 second. People were asking, why are you using the lasso tool and not the magnetic lasso tool or the magic wand or select subject? Is there a special reason for that? Like I said, there's a lot of ways that you can select things. I use the lasso tool so often, it's my go-to. I'm super used to just hitting the L on my keyboard and pulling it up, and I actually select it super, super quickly. Sometimes when I go to select, like a mass select with one of the other tools, on an illustration of mine, because there's so much texture happening and because there's so many like negative spaces and places that are empty that I don't realize are empty because it's like all illustrated. It doesn't select it properly. It selects like portions of it that, and when I need all of it selected, doesn't select as cleanly as I want. And I end up having to clean it up with the lasso tool anyways. So I just use the lasso tool when it comes to illustration. When it comes to like graphic design and stuff like that, I do use the other tools. When it comes to like photo compositing, I do use like object selection and the magnetic selection tool or the magic wand. But for illustration, the lasso tool always works best for me. And it also follows the exact movement of the... Oh, he deleted the comment. Thank you, Jan. Thank you for deleting it. That's great. Yeah, it's just, it follows your selection exactly, so you always know that the lasso tool is directly under your stylus and not doing any shenanigans like moving
exactly.
And yes, there seems to be a white rectangle around your cursor sometimes, which we only did so you can see the cursor. You're welcome. Sometimes, yeah, it seems to be because of our meeting software. We'll see if we can fix that for the next streams, if we do one more stream like this. Val is the master of the lasso tool. Yeah.
I try. So I know we only have about a minute, or about a minute left before we do chat and win. So I'm just gonna real quick, I'm gonna put a gradient map on this, and then we can mess with it when we come back from chat and win. So I'm gonna go to image adjustments, and I'm gonna come down here to, where's it at? Gradient map. And I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to apply some colors here. I'm going to change this to like a soft blue color, and change this one to a lighter blue color, like so. And I'm going to even add maybe another color to it.
And maybe after chat and win, we can briefly go into what a gradient map is. Right.
Yep. Okay. Let's do it.
Great. So I think that's time for chat and win. So let's go over to the. Hang on. Wait. Boop. The fireworks show right behind us. Now you can even see it, Val. Right?
Yes, I can see it now.
I can see it. Oh my!
And we're going to ask for color suggestions. Yes.
Yes. So now is the time in the chat on behance.net/live. Tell us some colors. Which colors would you like to see on the painting right now? We will pick one winner after the animation played, who will receive 100 custom 3" by 3" die-cut sticker mill stickers, free shipping. And yeah, so make sure to type something in the chat, any color, apart from hot pink maybe. And now we will get only Hotkey.
I would use pink, maybe, we'll see.
Oh dear.
I reserve the right to veto any color suggestions, but I'll try to use some from you guys. So I guess we'll be right back.
We will be right back indeed. And we're back. Welcome back, everybody. So, let's take a look at the chat and see what people are writing. Purple and gold, I see. Violet, blue, bright green, also yellow, black, red, purple. One color, Kathleen, one color. Purple.
I'm seeing, I
think
I saw crimson.
Yeah.
Crimson and emerald green sound good to me.
Hello is not
actually.
a color, but very specific. FFDD15. Well, okay. Thank you very much.
Very specific. Maybe some yellow would be cool because I don't typically use yellows. We'll probably end up adding purple or like a sapphire blue.
It's nice. So you can just pick out any color you like, and I will show you the winner. Right. Hang on. Right now. Ryan! Congratulations!
Ryan!
Golf clap.
And I think Ryan just said that his son loves stickers. I think I just saw him post that.
Well, that's amazing.
In there. So
Ryan,
that is awesome.
Congratulations. You will receive 100 Sticker stickers, and Adobe Live will send you a message in your Behance DMs within hopefully the next days or until Friday. So make sure to keep an eye out. And for everybody else who didn't win right now, that's no problem, because you can use this code right here, stickermule.com/Adobe Live 20 to receive 10 stickers for $1. They are also the same kind of stickers we are giving away for the 100 stickers, but for $1, 10 stickers, free shipping in most countries. So thank you very much.
Ryan's losing his mind right now.
And I do have on my iPad, that's a Stickermule sticker.
Nice.
By the way, you can order circular stickers using that code. You don't have to use like the die-cut one. They will just do any shape for you. All right.
It just happens to also be die-cut if that's what you want. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd say let's go back to your screen, and we will continue to explain the work.
Yeah, I've realized I made a mistake, and so I'm gonna go back. So I'm gonna undo with Control-Z. I'm gonna convert this to Smart Object because I want to be able to go back if I want to. So I'm gonna go back into Image Adjustments and Gradient Map, and I think I'm going to do reverse on this because, or I don't have to do that right now because I'm about to. No, we'll do that. So I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to come in, and there's like other versions of this or other kind of combinations and stuff that you can click. Some of them I've used in projects before. Some of them are horrifying. Like they don't really work for what I'm doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change some things. So I'm going to grab, I'm just going to double click here, and I'm going to edit. I've got some reference up on my computer over here for some interesting colors, and a lot of them were suggested by you guys. So I'm just going to kind of run with that.
Why is making a smart object so important?
Because you so if I have done this, let me just say, okay. So as you can see, that just changed my layer there. So before it just changed the layer and that was that. But now it changed the color of the layer, it put the gradient map on it, and that was it. But now you can see there's actually a smart filter here on the bottom because my layer is a smart object, and I can actually hide and unhide that. And I can add tons more adjustments and things to this layer without actually destroying what the original layer was. So if I want to go back to the original before I did anything to it, I can just hide certain elements of that layer, which is really great, especially if you don't quite know what you're doing with your piece yet and you're just experimenting. So I normally would add maybe a little more color to this, but I actually kind of like that just being like kind of a base color. What I might do is double click this gradient map. Oops, wait, I want to go back. I might, instead of making this black here, I might sample kind of a yellowy color again, and then just make it like a warmer color like that. I might do that. and say, okay. In fact, yeah, I think I will use that. And so I'm going to also tilt this just slightly like so, and then I'm going to bump it down to the edge of our canvas, just so that she's oriented a little more upright. So I'm going to use that. And what this allows me to do is like, it's got like a base color under it, but there's no like true black to it, so that I can use blending modes and things behind her, and I can change every aspect of it without worrying that blend modes might not interact with the white or the black that's in this layer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with some blending modes, and I'm going to start just like going nuts and just throwing colors onto this canvas. And we don't know if any of them are going to look good really, but I have kind of a basic understanding, a basic plan in my head for how I want things to look, and we're going to see if we can do that. Also, another point about like putting the gradient map on that, like I said, is I guess I could have just used blending modes to add color to her without...
The gradient map allows you to be much more detailed. Since this is a black and white image, you can really go by brightness. So what the gradient map does is just take the brightness levels, the different brightness levels, and map the gradient to that brightness level. So on the left side of the gradient map editor, you will find the darkest color. So if you just say blue should be my darkest color, then all the shadows of your layer will become blue. And if you say, I don't know, yellow on the highlights color on the right side, I guess it's flipped on my side, then you can say, hey, the highlights should be yellow. And of course, you can also add multiple stops in the center of the gradient map to define like, okay, my mid shadows should be red, and my brighter shadows should be like this color, and the not quite highlights should be that color. So you can go really into detail and do multiple edits, multiple stops of color, just to customize your work just like the way you want it. And that you can't do that with blending modes unless you know what blend if. But that's a whole different topic. All right.
I also think that it just looks like the colors that I typically apply look a lot better when I have a base color, like a base like kind of gradient map underneath, because not every blending mode that you use is going to interact well with black and white and gray. It's just not. So a lot of the blending modes I use, I don't know 100% like how they work. I think that I don't know.
What?
I mean, I know like
you don't
I don't know
how they work.
I don't. I'm gonna be. Oh yeah, you can actually. Can I tell you the ones I use a lot? I use. I know what darken and lighten do. I know what darker color and lighter color do.
I don't want to go
use those.
I don't want to go right into that detail. I just want to do the general explanation, because there are some categories in the blending mode menu. So if I go over to my screen, don't be scared by the stock image I have open. Hang on.
Oh, am I going to be horrified?
It's I found this on Adobe stock. This is so funny. Okay, right. So you have. We'll create a new layer. Let me just set this here. You have all the blending modes over here, right? So if I zoom in, you can see there are these gray lines between those blending modes or blend modes. And they define the category to which blend mode belongs. So the first category is the normal category. So just normal and dissolve. Dissolve you don't really have to use. It does some random pixel removal. Basically don't have to use that one. It's fine. The next category is the darken category. So every blending mode in that group will darken your image. The most often that you will find is multiply and color burn. Those are the two most important darken blend modes. And when you use some of those blend modes, you will instantly see, because of the live preview, what they do. So you don't even have to know what they're doing, just hover over the blend modes and you will instantly see. The next category is the lighten category, so everything in here will brighten your image. The next one is the contrast category, so everything in there will improve your contrast or make the contrast different. The default color, the neutral color, would be middle gray for that category, by the way. This one is the difference category. You don't really need that. And finally, we have the components, where you can just adjust certain components of the color. Sometimes very helpful is the hue thing. And also one last thing, and then I will go back to your screen. Some of the blending modes do behave differently when you adjust the fill slider. So that one right here. Some do behave differently. There are 8 blending modes. Color dodge is one of them. So if it doesn't look right, try decreasing the fill instead of the opacity. Maybe that will work, maybe not. All right.
Nice.
So that's enough from me. Back to you.
That's great. Okay. Yeah, I kind of just like preview them and see if they do a thing that I like, and if they don't, then that's that. I just go to another one.
I mean, there is a technical explanation, but it's really boring, even for me. It has like
so what I've done is I added some brown to our pirate hat here, and I made all of these clipping masks. So what a clipping mask is and does is it basically takes whatever whatever's on that layer and kind of makes it adhere to the borders of whatever borders and boundaries of whatever's on the layer below it. So for example, if I am not on a clipping mask here and I take some bright red, because that's our default like example color, and I scribble all over, and you can see a lot of this stuff kind of goes out of the lines, out of the borders of her boundaries. But if I apply a clipping mask to it, then it only applies it to the edges of her. And you can see that this clipping mask actually isn't right above her, but all of the layers below this clipping masks are clipping masks that are adhering to her. So I can keep making clipping masks that go down to the same layer, as long as I don't make a regular layer or some other kind of layer in between any of those clipping masks. It will keep pointing down to the base layer that I have it above until I added a different kind of layer between there, which is really, really useful. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going through and I'm just grabbing some basic colors that I like, and I am putting some colors down on their own layers and making them clipping masks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through and I'm going to apply some more blending modes to them. And basically what I am doing is I'm getting like a base amount of color in here. And then what I do is some people use like adjustment layers and stuff, but I actually just like paint bucket some color in and change the blending modes on top of the whole shebang here. And I know that that's really kind of a big no-no.
No, I wouldn't say that. Sometimes, like some people, when I use the eraser, they're like, how dare you use the eraser? My God, why don't you work non-destructive? Yeah, sometimes I know that I won't use those pixels anymore. I just go with the eraser and just whoop, remove that. I don't always have to use layer masks. And you don't always have to use adjustment layers. Sometimes you just know, all right, I will use this action. I won't have to undo it ever again, and then it's fine, honestly. But most often, yes, of course, work non-destructively, and you will have a great time.
Yep.
The new updates in Photoshop are amazing. A lot of change in the 2020 update. I need to catch up. This is very helpful. Yeah, I think Paul Trenny and Aaron Nays did a stream on like what's new in Photoshop. You have to just look through the archives of Adobe Live. There should be enough streams where they go over the most important features, and there are some pretty cool features in there. The one that I like most is the new content-aware fill feature, where you can do multiple edits without closing the interface. You can just do one edit, hit apply, and do the next edit. That wasn't possible before.
Nice.
So yeah, great for compositing. And right now you're adjusting the colors as you
Yeah, so what I like to do is I like to find like a blending mode that I kind of like. Like I like how it applies color to the area that I put it on. And then I do Control U and I open up the hue and saturations panel. And then I just like, I'd like change things around, because sometimes I find like, oh, okay, this is a nice blending mode for like what how I want things applied to the hair, but maybe the color, like after I put it on that blending mode, the color isn't really what I'm looking for. So I will change things around. I will take some saturation out of something, and I will, do all kinds of stuff to kind of clean it up the way I want it. At this point, none of the colors that I'm putting down, except maybe the brown of the hat, are actually going to be like this for the rest of the painting. I'm literally right now, I'm just like finding colors that are like semi-interesting, and I am putting them in the areas just to like differentiate regions of the character, I guess you could say. And then I am going to start applying like mass colors to like the whole thing, and we're going to start making this look even better. This is how all my paintings start out. Like all of the, even the one, like you said yesterday, Tim, that I did for or that you guys used for the promo for the stream, even that one started out like pretty much exactly like this, where I just was like throwing whatever down on the canvas and like trying to to find a version of colors that I thought were cool looking, I guess.
I messed up the timer. Hang on. Okay.
Oh, did you? Oh, no.
I switched to the main cam to see like this is the big screen, and I just changed it. No worries, because we will review your challenge submissions. So I will talk about that in a second. So I just have to. Oh dear. Okay. So 45 minutes should it be now? I just set it to 40 minutes. Okay. And you are working on. So for every color you add a new layer, right?
Yeah, just or for every material I add a new layer, because the belt is leather and so is the hat. So I use the same color on the same layer for those.
How can we scroll through the blend modes on macOS? You should be able just to hover over them.
Yeah, you can hover over them. Unless you're on PC, you can do what I'm doing, which is I like usually go in, I select the top most thing, and then I can just use my arrow keys up and down.
But you should be able to hover over them unless you don't have the latest version of Photoshop. Jan.
Yeah.
You have to update. And also, by the way, if you happen to have more than one color on one layer, you can still use the hue saturation adjustment layer to target only one color. So don't worry. If you accidentally have two colors on one layer, you can still use hue adjustment layers to only target
you can
one
just
color.
select it, right? Or using fancy adjustment layers. Yeah, you can demo it if you want.
Okay, I will demo it.
I'm just going to choose a color for my background. Just, go for it. Please.
So let's say, there's the image again. Hi, it's little gran, as Jan said. So let's say I want to target this blue coat. I don't know what that is, like blue fur coat. And I don't want to make a selection. Like obviously this is just one layer. I want to change this blue color because obviously, like, I don't want to make any promotion for IKEA. So let's just change this blue color. And I don't want to select it because selecting this fur coat, like, look at it. Like, oh my God, you do not want to select it. No. This is a nightmare. So how can I select this? I guess you can just add one of the hue and saturation adjustment layers over here. And then you can, hang on. Click on this menu right here. See, this one. And you can pick
Oh,
blues.
Yeah.
But that's not it, because now you can refine that selection. What I like to do is just pick a random color, like the really obnoxious one, so you can see what you're doing. And then you can go in here and using, hang on, let me make it bigger. Using those controls, you can target those colors. So those blues will be targeted right here. And then you can make an adjustment until you mostly have the color selected. And of course, if you're just having two colors like Val is having right now, it would be much easier. And then you can indeed go back and change only the color of the coat. Let's just say we want a slightly brighter one like this, I don't know. And now we only change the blue color without even touching the skin tones or the yellow background color. So that's how you do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you ever mess up and have two colors on one layer, not an issue. Just use this workflow. All right.
That's amazing. So all I did was I just threw a color into the background here, just so that there's something in the back to make things a little more interesting. And I think the last thing that I'm going to throw some colors onto is I'm going to select a color, maybe like a reddish brown, and I'm going to apply it to the pants here. Oops. And then I'm going to start kind of doing like a color on everything. I'm also going to come in and throw some colors on certain portions of the face because you can't. I've seen a lot of people do this before, and that is it just like make the face like one color, and then they have like black lines kind of outlining where the eyes and the nose are. And if you, depending on what, like maybe certain styles are like, that's okay. But if you're doing like a semi-realism kind of thing, that is not the way to go about it. Especially if you're starting out with color the way I am. I think a lot of people, they will kind of advise against coloring the way that I color. But if you want to kind of drop in colors after instead of blending and mixing colors the whole way, there are certain things that you really have to do in order to make it look decent. And that is making sure that you, first of all, understand where colors go in the face and you actually take the time to add them there. So maybe we can do that first. So I've got like some base colors. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to actually group all of this together by selecting all of them. So now I literally just have like the background, and then I have a group where all of this is on here. And on a new layer, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come into my my little character's face here, and I'm going to select B on the keyboard. I'm going to grab one of these general brushes, the soft round brush, and then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to start putting color down. So when it comes to putting color on a face, there are generally regions of the face that have more of one color than others. Typically, the forehead on most people is going to have more of like a white, like kind of tannish color, because your skin there is very thin against your skull. There's not a lot of blood underneath your like in between your skull and your skin, so it typically is like broader and brighter there. And then in the center of the face, there is a lot more red color. So around the eyes, around the nose, around the cheeks, and all of that, you typically have like a lot of red color. And then depending on whether you are painting like a male or female character, or just a character in general that grows hair on their chin, you're actually going to have a lot of blue in this region, because there's, even if the person is cleanly shaved, there's going to be like a bluish green kind of tint, because there is hair follicles underneath the skin on the chin, and on the lip, depending on what you do. Now, I don't actually paint it in like that. I'm just like kind of giving you guys a visual of how the face is broken up, and I keep this in mind while I'm painting. So the way that I actually do it is usually I first come in here with like a red color, and I'm actually going to sample this weird peach color that's kind of created by what we did here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to just brush this underneath the eyelids. I'm going to put it in the corner of the eyes here and bring it up over the top of the lids on the upper portion of the eyes. I'm going to come here and I'm going to blend like a reddish color from like the darker underneath the nose, and then lighter as I get up to the bridge of the nose. And then I'm going to turn my opacity down on my brush, which you can do by pressing 1 through 0 on your keyboard. It will change the opacity of your brush by 10%. So if I press 4, it's going to drop my opacity down to 40%. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to brush some pink into the hollows of the cheeks, like so. And then I am also going to put some red color around the creases of the mouth and things. Also going to kind of brush this down underneath the neck a little bit, and in the hollows where there's going to be a little bit of shadow, because there is a lot of red in the neck and chest of a character. And then I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm going to find a blending mode for this that I like. So let me...
By the way, you can also use Shift and the numbers to change the flow of the brush. Or you can use Shift to
gotcha.
One of the two. Maybe you can try it. And also,
gotcha.
I've seen some questions, not in this stream right now, but during the past streams, where people ask, like, what's the difference between opacity and flow? Do you know?
Oh, please explain. I don't. I think I did at one point,
don't
but
know? Okay.
I really don't. Yeah.
It's demo time. Okay. So let's
Please.
just briefly go over to my screen. And I will show you what's the difference between opacity and flow, because flow is really, really useful, and it would be a shame if you don't know how to use it. So let me just take a regular brush with hardness like this, and let me drag the flow to 100% and the opacity to 100%, obviously. Okay, so let's just draw anything, and you can see, maybe I can pick another color, like black. You can see if I paint right here, you instantly see the pure black color. So that's pretty obvious. So what if I change my opacity to, let's say, I don't know, 10%? So I just, by the way, you can click on the opacity and drag left to right to change it if you don't want to enter it manually. And now if I change it, you can see I paint less color. Like if I paint over the hand, you can see right through it. But if I don't lift my stylus or my mouse, I can keep painting, and this area won't get any darker. I can paint however long I want, nothing will happen. Only if I lift my stylus or my mouse and paint again, then it will become darker. However, the flow is different. Let me just drag the new area. Let's put the opacity to 100% and the flow to, I don't know, 10 or 4%. Now if I draw once, you can see I can draw over the area again, and it will get darker and darker and darker until it has reached the value of opacity you have specified. So in this case, until you have reached 100%. And we're painting with 4% increments. So if I paint, at some point I will get to the 100%. Or if I drag the opacity down to 50%, I will at that point get to 50% if I draw long enough. So that's the difference between opacity and flow, and that's why you should use flow.
Nice.
By the way, one last thing before we go back. You see these lines right here, these individual lines. You can remove that if you go over to the brush manager, which is right on this icon, and you reduce the spacing. Right, you can bring it down, and then this distance will become much smaller, and the brush will use more resources, just so you know. So if I put it to 1%, it's much smoother, as you can see, but it will use more resources. So if your brush is lagging, increase this spacing slider. All right, back to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So all I've done is I've like changed the color of this very slightly. And I'm kind of editing the saturation and I'm toning it down a little bit, but I just want to make sure that we have like our reds in there. And then for now, I might actually leave that alone for now, just because we're coming up here on having like maybe 30 minutes left. And what I want to do is get like the main colors in here so I can really start digging into the painting. So I am going to grab my paint bucket. Please don't hate me. I'm using a paint bucket for this. And I'm going to grab like a blue color. Somebody was saying like royal blue or like sapphire blue. And I'm just gonna literally what I do is I'll grab a color and I'll paint bucket it in, and then I'll cycle through my blending modes until I find one that works. I typically have like a list of them that I much prefer. So generally my go-to ones are darken and multiply, which you know what, if I come in here to the hue and saturation, I might actually be able to use these because it's actually not bad. It kind of adds a little bit of I actually might like this, and this is nice. It kind of just evens things out. Another thing that you can do, another thing that I've done before, is I'll grab everything, right, and I'll control group it, and I will duplicate it with Control J, and then merge it together with Control E so that I have it. And then I'll come up here to image, and I'll run through like the auto tones or the auto contrast or the auto color until I find like something like, and let it just like auto color correct it. And then I will turn that on a blending mode and apply that and see how it interacts with all of the layers and things that I have. That actually doesn't look bad right there. The lighten.
Looks great.
So it just like, yeah, like it allows me to like kind of color correct everything all together. But one thing I will do, because that is like one solid layer all together, is I'll come into where my layers are, and I will hold Control and click on that main layer that we made for our girl, and then I will come up to that main layer that I did. And I will Control J and just duplicate the shape of our girl out of there and hide that other one, just so that our background is not taking color from that. And then I did like the color of the background, so I'll select it and hide that again. And then I'll come back down to our background layer, and I will color bucket that purple in. So that just, kind of like gave us a little bit of color. And now what I'm going to do real quick is, there were some colors that I did really want to test out on this. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to merge, I'm going to put this into our group, because I'm going to use the, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to use the clipping masks again, but I'm going to clip mask to this group, I believe.
There were some questions in the chat. I just posted the shortcuts again in the chat. What's up with the square thing? Yeah, that's just so you can see the cursor better. You're welcome. I know it's a bug with our meeting software. We will see if we can fix it. Should we use that one again? Will you post it to Behance later? Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So make sure to follow her. There's a link in the info tab above the chat. So to the both of our profiles. There are so many juicy tips on the stream, that's right. And if you'd like to see more pro tips, there is a pro tips channel in the Discord, so make sure to check that out, and I will try to post more tips to that channel. And let's see, there were some other questions. When to use flow, when to use opacity. Basically, you use flow whenever you want to gradually build up color, and you use opacity when you want to work with a fixed opacity. That's just the two things I can explain to you, because there are so many reasons why you would use a brush. So basically, when you want to build up color, use flow. When you want to use a fixed level of opacity, use opacity. And you can also use both, and most brushes will have both preset. So let's see if there are other questions. Adobe Draw or Adobe Sketch? Sketch for pixel-based layers, Draw for vectors. However, they are both being replaced by Adobe Fresco, which can do both. Which is
amazing.
Which we used yesterday. So if you have time, make sure to watch yesterday's streams where Val worked in Fresco. And Fresco can do both vectors and pixel brushes and live brushes. And by the way, yes, Fresco is free. There's a free version. The only limited features for which you have to pay for is if you want to import custom brushes, you have to pay for that, and if you want to have 100 gigabytes of cloud storage, then you have to pay for Fresco. But otherwise, Fresco is free. You have access to all the vector brushes, you have access to all the live brushes, you have access to all 90% of the pixel brushes, and you can export in high res. So basically it's free. Alright. Let me just check if there were any other questions. Nope, doesn't seem like it.
So I want to explain what I'm doing here, because I started moving forward with like a major step. So what I've done is now I'm in a new layer above all of my blending modes, and I'm actually sampling color and painting in color now. And what I did was I sampled the color of the skin, and then on my color picker up there, I just grabbed like a slightly lighter, more saturated version of it, and then I've started to paint in very subtly with it, and I am kind of I guess you would say sculpting the face, I guess. So I'm coming in here, I'm adding, I'm kind of carving this jaw out here, and I will come back and do what we were doing before, where I was adding like the pink and the red and stuff around the eyes, but I'm kind of trying to make sure that I get into this step since time is limited. So I'm going to go ahead and paint and sculpt just a little bit, and then we will get into doing some other color things that I have planned before we have to go.
Yes, Jan, there are some differences between PSDs and TIFF files. I believe some of the Photoshop-specific ideas like smart objects, they don't work in TIFF files, I believe. And linked assets also, they most likely don't work. So yes, some Photoshop-specific things will not work. But if you have to share your design and you're fine with only sharing layers, then of course TIFF files are a great way to share your work non-destructively. Is Fresco supported for Android? No? I don't think so. Not yet, but they're working on it.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Oh, yeah, right. Windows, select Windows devices and the iPad devices which support the Apple Pencil, but unfortunately not currently any Android devices, but the team is working on that. Okay.
One thing that I want to mention so that you guys can keep this in mind is as I am painting here, I'm painting and I am resting my thumb on my Alt key over on my keyboard. And I'm just constantly like blending and then selecting a new color and blending and selecting a new color. And that's typically how I come in and I start turning this like from going into from a sketch to making it look like more of a painted image. So I'm just doing that over and over again right here.
Are you using any special brushes? Are those custom brushes? Are those Kyle Webster brushes?
This is a brush. I don't know exactly where I got it. I've just been calling it the Val brush because I've been using it for like years and years. I think it's actually in, what's his name? There's an artist on ArtStation named Aaron. His first name's Aaron.
We can find it later. Actually, have to do that.
Yeah, I'll post the brush pack later because I think I found it's a brush I've actually found in multiple packs. So I think that like a lot of artists they post like their brush pack, and sometimes it's not brushes that they've made. Sometimes it's like brushes that they've just been using. So like here's the brushes I used, and it's a brush that I've encountered in a few packs. But the version of the brush, the unedited version, or the one that I'm used to, that I have used the most is the one in Aaron's pack, and I will find it for you later, and I will post that to the Discord so that you folks can see it.
And of course, there are also, if you're a subscriber to the Creative Cloud or Photoshop, you do have access to all the Kyle Webster brushes. I believe there are over 1,000 brushes out there. So maybe you can, or should I show how to get them?
Yeah, why don't you show how to get them?
Okay, just briefly. Go over to my screen, hang on, boopity boop. So if you want to have access to those brushes, you just have to click on this icon right here and then the gear icon. And then you can select this entry right here, which says get more brushes, which will bring you to this page where you have access to all the amazing brushes of the Kyle Webster brush pack. And those are all brush packs. Like that's not a single brush, those are all brush packs. I personally recommend the Impressionist brush pack and the Concept brush pack. Really nice, you have some great brushes in there. Just download them from there. Be aware some brush packs are really large, so they will take some time to download. But yeah.
Yeah, some of them are actually like pretty hefty. I've got a few of his brush packs added that I like to use. I don't typically like focus solely on Kyle's brushes, but I find that every once in a while when I'm in a pinch and I'm just like, I need a brush that's going to do this, Kyle usually has one that will do what I want. So I do have a few that I've started to employ like over the last few months that I come back to sometimes.
And Legend says, if you say brush 3 times, he will appear in the chat. So we won't
like
do
Beetlejuice. That. Oh, that's one.
That's
Nobody
Jason Levine. Jason Levine will appear if you say Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
No, Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Right. So we do have about 20 minutes for... Yeah, I hold 4 on the camera, like 20 minutes. See, 20. To share your work. As I hold 4 fingers into the camera, right? 20 minutes, and we will take a look at the portfolio review, the challenge submissions on Discord. If you don't know how to submit them, you have to turn on the challenge tab on Behance.
Turn on the challenge tab.
Turn on the challenge tab. Nobody knows that reference again. Hey guys.
I feel like you should play it. But I don't want to put pressure on you. Yeah, you should.
You know what? I will play it
that?
I will play it during the outro.
Oh, yes, please do.
How about that? You
yes.
have
Okay.
to turn on the challenge tab. All right. So stay tuned for the outro. Oh boy.
So yeah, we're gonna get to actually listen to some original Tim tunes that he's like mixed and created himself. Everyone, it's gonna be great.
So yeah, turn on the challenge tab, submit your work to the Discord, and then we will review your work in about 18 minutes, 19 minutes, and give you some feedback, hopefully. And if you don't get to review your work, our mentors, including me, and I think Val, you're also a mentor, are you? Sometimes?
Sometimes.
Okay, sometimes Val is a mentor, and we will review your work, and also you're welcome to review the work of others, because maybe if you review their work, maybe they will review your work, right? So, vice versa. Okay. How to get into the Discord group. There should be a link above the chat in the challenge tab, how to join. And maybe, Sam can post the link. Thank you very much. All right. So back to you, Val.
All right. So I've added some definition to her face. If I come in through, one of my favorite things to do is to group everything and like hide it so I can see like how far I've gone from like the sketch into like the painted work. I'm not really happy with her eyes, to be perfectly honest. Not really digging those things. Maybe I could just turn that on a lower opacity. That might work. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to flip my canvas because that's going to show me what's actually wrong. Oh yeah, there we go. You can instantly see like the issues. And what I'm going to do, I almost want to give her like dark eyeshadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to like throw like a glob of paint on to this, and then I'm going to mess with the blending modes and see how that that might work. See how that goes. Let me grab my eraser and I'm going to start erasing around. Oh yeah, that works for me.
There it is. Turn on the challenge tab. Uncle Rufus and the Germans.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's a very serious band.
So I have that ready for you. Okay. Why are you staring at VooDoo Val that way?
We're not in the same. We're not even on the same continent right now.
You should see my view right now. Like, there's a monitor, there's a monitor, there's a monitor, there's a monitor, and there's my MacBook. So I have 5 monitors that I have to look at right now. So if I look at Val like this, then I'm not looking at Val. I'm just looking at my screens.
It's not the same, guys.
It's not the same. And Mariam says, girl, please. Whenever I flip my canvas, one of the eyes will be way off. Yeah, that's right. That's why you flip the canvas. Every
time. That's why you have to flip your canvas. If you're somebody who has not been flipping their canvas thus far, you're going to thank us once you start doing that. Because it's amazing. I'm going to flip it again.
And maybe
I'm still not 100% happy with this, but we don't have very much time. So I'm going to go into some other parts of this.
Oh yeah, I am in a spaceship. So I will share a screen. I will share a photo of my view right now. It's interesting.
Oh yes, please do it.
I mean, not right now because we're on stream. That would be unprofessional.
Oh really? So it was it professional when Gus was floating around in space behind us yesterday? Okay, that's fine.
That's just
fine.
any random
that's fine.
astronaut. I don't know. Okay.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine.
Right.
Very professional.
Right.
You're super professional.
Justin, you have just watched my meme video. Oh, that's not a meme video. Wait for the outro. You will see a meme video.
You want a meme?
You want
we
a
got
meme?
your memes right here. Know what I mean?
Jan says, I don't flip the canvas that much, but when I do, I flip the script. I don't know what it means.
Oh no.
Is that a reference? Flip the script?
I think so. I think I know what it's from, but I don't want to say what it's from and be wrong and look dumb. So I'm just going to say, yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I got that.
And that character is shaping up to look like an elf a little bit. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Some pointy ears.
I could actually give her pointy ears instead of these like gold earrings that I've got going here, but I don't know if I want to change everything that much when we're limited on time. So I'll see what happens because it depends on like how long it takes us to get through challenge entries. We might actually have time to return to this. afterward, but I don't want to, like tempt fate here and not have stuff done. So I am adding some subtle kind of darkening areas of the neck here, and kind of just adding a little bit more definition to this. I'm going to grab my softer brush. There we go. I'm going to turn the opacity down like so. Maybe I'll actually use the flow. I'll turn the flow down.
We're nothing but professional here. That's right.
That's literally all we are. Is professional nerds. I mean, we're grown-ups. We're super cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like, need some sunglasses.
Very cool people. If only they knew like what our meetings or usual like weekly meetings sounded like. Oh
boy.
I'd be like, wow, these guys are not as cool as we thought.
No.
Yeah, these guys are not as cool as we thought they were. And I'd be like, you'd be right. You'd be right.
Why are we watching those people? They have no idea what they're doing.
They're insane. I don't know what's happening.
But luckily, we do have one person in here who knows what we're doing and who can give us a bit of feedback. Would you like some feedback there?
I would love some feedback.
Okay, hang on.
Oh.
I like it. I don't love it.
Oh, thank you very much. Hang on.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, wow.
Think bigger, but keep it simple.
Okay, that's enough for me. Goodbye.
That doesn't make any sense. I love the hovering art direct because like that's like the kind of stuff that you get sometimes, and you're just like, I like the one that's like make it more interactive. That's my favorite one because I've gotten that before, and I'm like, you asked me for a 2D image for like a editorial thing. Like you wanted me to make you an illustration to put in like an InDesign project that's not going to move. How do I make it more interactive than sitting there? I don't know.
Could do a flip book. No.
I don't know. I'm just like, come on. Don't do this to me.
VooDoo Val knows her stuff. She just added a catch light in her eyes. Yeah, that's right.
I did. What's
a catch light?
It's a light that catches.
Well, thank you very much.
I like to add like a lot of different little blips of light in the eyes just to make it like a little shinier and to add I guess a little bit more dimension, because when I like add the colors in this way, it makes it look less like there's just like a shine in it and more like it's actually kind of bouncing around a little bit, like there's more than just like one blip of like, oops, yeah, it's shiny right here in this one place, and more of like there's stuff going on in the eyes, especially since if you guys noticed, I didn't actually paint very much in the eyes. I kind of just scribbled on it, but then when I added the light, then it was like, that's an eye, I guess. Nice. Yeah, there we go.
And yeah, that was the hovering art director. He gives you great feedback when you need it, or even when you don't need it. Especially then people give you great feedback. And this is such a masterclass.
Most of the time when you don't need it.
This is such a masterclass. Every time I look at the screen, it's like, wow, how did you do that? Yeah, I'm sorry, we only have 2 hours. I think we should have way more than that, but 2 hours, unfortunately, is enough. So maybe we will be back soon, hopefully. Maybe,
yeah,
Gus,
that would be nice. I'm trying my best to get as much done with this as possible, because like if you think about it, I've had I mean 2 streams, but we're chatting and talking and answering questions, and we have like portfolio reviews and challenge stuff, I
have to share my annoying pro tips and my hovering art director quotes. Yeah, that's.
I think it's really only technically like 2 to 3 hours to finish a painting. Which I really did not want to have to leave anything unfinished for this, but we may have some stuff that I will
and highlight, catch light, I think that's basically the same. I think highlight is maybe just a bigger highlight like she's doing on the head right now. That's what I would call a highlight, and catch light is really the key light that lights up your scene, and then you can see the reflection of your eyes. Hey, Paul.
Yes.
Hi. Nice hair.
Which Paul?
Tranny.
Oh! Yeah. Yo, what's up, Paul Tranny? Yo. It's good to see you.
Oh, that Paul.
I don't know which one.
I don't like him.
I know.
The other Paul. Yeah, that's great.
Let's dip out. Thanks for joining us, guys. We gotta go.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye.
we do have about 9 minutes to share your work, so make sure to share it right now. Otherwise, we won't look at it.
Right this moment.
Right this moment. And keep in mind, uploading your work can take time, depending on your internet connection. So don't wait until the last second.
I almost want to not make her blonde. But I might just leave it because I don't really have a lot of time to change it. I'm going to come in and I'm going to...
I feel so educated with these streams. Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam. That hat looks great, by the way, Jason says.
Oh, thanks.
Y'all should do these more, Miriam. Thank you very much. Yeah, we hope to do those more.
We will if we can, yeah, because this has been like a blast setting this up. It's been a really good time.
Maybe we shouldn't do the outro with the meme song. Maybe then they'll say, ooh, we didn't like that.
Oh, no, we got to commit. They got to know what they're signing up for. Yeah.
They can't stop us. Okay.
They have to know what we're doing here. That we mean business.
So basically,
and also they need to remember to turn on the challenge tab.
So right now you're using the brush tool. Do you use any other brush tool? Any other tools? I know some people use the dodge and burn tool. Do you use any of them?
Oh, never.
No. Okay.
Never.
Yeah, that was a short
mostly because every time I try to use them, it's like, wow, this is just muddy. This is like not like I can't. Yeah. I'm not good at using it.
The mixer brush is really cool, especially if you have some of the Kyle Webster brushes. So some of the brushes do have a brush preset, so they will automatically switch to the tool. For example, the mixer brush, the smudge tool. So yeah, if you don't want the brushes to do that, you can hold down Command and Alt. No, wait, Control and Alt, and then you can click on that brush, and then it will keep the current preset, so it won't change it. On Mac, I believe it should be Command and Option. I hope.
Gotcha.
Sometimes you just want to keep the current tool preset. You don't want to switch tools. Ooh, I like those highlights.
Yeah, so what I did was I just sketched around and then threw it with like a lighter color, and then I put it on an overlay layer just to put some brightness on it a little bit. Just to make this look a little bit more like there's like some cool fabric happening. One thing that I do want to do that is not really happening here yet is we've got everything like kind of looking like a little bit somber. There's like some atmosphere and stuff going on, but I think that it could use like a little bit more atmosphere. And so I'm going to real quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer above this group, and I'm going to snag this background color and I'm going to paint bucket it in, and I'm going to set it to maybe a multiply will be fine, and I'm going to turn it to like a half opacity just so that it's like kind of darker, like a little bit but not quite, but it also still matches with everything. And then I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to go to one of the general brushes, the soft round brush, and I'm going to erase around the face and like highlight areas because it kind of adds like a little bit more depth in certain places. I think it typically looks like pretty. Yeah, instantly looks
and
pretty
which
good.
Blend are you using again? Multiply, yeah.
Multiply, yeah.
That would be one chance to play around with different blend modes, see how they work, play with the opacity and fill. By the way, the fill also works differently when you are using layer effects like drop shadow or like stroke or bevel and emboss. If you reduce the opacity, you will both reduce the pixel data and the effects. If you reduce the fill, however, you will only take away the pixel data, but the effects will stay. So let's say you have some text. At a drop shadow, if you reduce the fill, you will only see the drop shadow. So that's the difference between opacity and fill.
Nice, okay.
Sometimes you just want, I don't know, the bevel and emboss or the stroke, and then you can just remove the fill. And some blend modes do work differently.
I think that I am going to see where I used fill on that one, but I think I'm going to use opacity for it actually, for this one.
For soft light, I don't think it does make any difference, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not really seeing a difference. But I think what I'm going to do again is I'm going to do my whole color correction thing. So I'm going to group everything, duplicate it, merge it with E, and then I'm going to come up to my auto adjust. I don't actually like that. I'm going to go, I don't know why I use these. I just, maybe not that green. I'm going to go into my hue and saturation, or not my hue and saturation, use my little handy trick there and check my values, and I can see what the issue is now. So I'm going to go to my levels, and I'm going to bump my levels around. Not too much, but I'm going to bring out some of the midtones and everything and just make that look a little bit more contrasty. And then I'm going to come back into the color. And I think that made it look a bit better. I am, however, going to change the color of that hat to kind of like a more color that like a more brownish, like reddish brown color, because I'm not really liking how that looks. And then I think I am actually going to change the color of her hair.
And Mia asks, I'm interested in how you get those different textures from a skin, clothing, head, etc.
I use different brushes, and then later, what I would do, which I know I don't have time for today, what I would do actually is, I bring in textures to my paintings all the time. I go and find like cement textures and like skin textures and all kinds of stuff, like images, and then I bring it in and I overlay it over certain parts of my painting, just to actually give it a little bit more texture and make things look, even more like, they are separate materials, because that's a huge problem that I see people making, is that they learn how to render something, right? And they're like, okay, now that I know how to render, I'm going to do it like this every time. And then every single thing that they do from then on looks like it's all made out of the same texture. And I kind of talked about that yesterday, I think, while we were doing portfolio reviews. And so something that I do to combat that is I photo bash in textures. And it's a really great technique to use, I think, to get a certain texture that you're really looking for your piece. And then I paint over those textures.
And of course, you can use different brushes. And Jan asks, how many brushes do you use per artwork?
I typically use like 3 or 4 of my favorite main brushes. And those brushes are this brush that I call like Val's brush, which if I get like, maybe I can get like a white and show you guys the texture. It's like a texture. I really like chalky brushes, so there's that one. And then I use like this pencil. Oh wait, not this one. This one. It's like a kind of like a subtly chalky thin brush. I like to use this one for painting and blending sometimes, like that. And then I also use this noise brush. I love the noise brush. In fact, it's one of my favorites, and I might actually use that right now. This noise brush is a brush that I made that I actually linked yesterday, which I can link it to you guys again if you folks are interested in downloading it. Let me find the link and I will shoot it over to you. I also know that we are getting ready to do...
Yeah, I was about to say. And yes, there are some interesting shortcuts in Photoshop, and one of them is how to make the whole design in black and white non-destructively. As Sam said, we talked about that earlier during the stream. Just scrub back or watch the replay.
Yeah.
And yeah, texture is huge. It's not something you think about until you get into painting more. Yeah, absolutely. There's a difference between... Did Halle hit 0 already? So would you like to share that, or...
I'm actually real quick. I'm gonna copy it and share this link so that you guys can grab this brush. There should be a download link. So this is like it's a post that is like on my Patreon that's available to everybody. And if you scroll all the way down to the post, there's a little ABR file that's attached, and you can just click it and download it and use it. But yeah, so I know that we're going to switch over, and then maybe if we have some time after we look at the entries, I can do a little bit more work on these. But I'm going to pull up.
So let's go to the big cam for a second. Ooh, that OBS didn't like that. Okay, then let me just open Discord and let me just give you a brief tour of Discord if you have never seen that one before. Let's go over to my screen. There we go. Close that. Thank you very much. So this is Discord. On the left you can see all the different channels. Most of them are text channels. Some of them you do have access to, some of them you can't write to because they are announcement channels. So obviously we don't want anyone writing in the announcement channel. So some of them you don't have access to. The most important ones for the challenge are right here in the feedback, because current challenge, that's the one we will look at right now. You can see all the different submissions for the challenge, and you can just share them here. If you have any questions, of course, please use the Ask a Question channel. Please, just take 1 second. Please don't DM the mentors. We will answer your questions in a DM, but think about this. Maybe you're not the only one who had that question. Maybe other people had the same question, and it would be much more efficient if we just discuss that in the public channel so everyone can see the answer, right? So please don't message us mentors individually, because then we have to copy and paste the same answer over and over again. Maybe just the public channel. That would be awesome. All right.
Also, sometimes people have a question that nobody has asked yet, and it's something that we would prefer to answer where everyone can see it, because it's probably something somebody else will need someday. So we like to put it all where everyone can see it.
So and don't be shy. Nobody will judge you if you post a really beginner question. That's fine. We're all here to help. And that's why we do have the mentors on this side right here. All right. But do feel free to ping us in the channel. You can just type in @ and then a name, and then you can ping us in there so we will see it. That's fine. All right. So do you have the Discord open, Val?
I do.
All right. Then let's jump to your screen, and then we can just go through the different submissions for this and maybe the past day if we don't have a lot of submissions.
We definitely do have tons of submissions.
Okay,
like
fine.
I've seen, we have tons of submissions.
The challenge was create a dramatic animal portrait by adding highlights and shadows with dodge and burn and smudge tools. They had a starter file, and let's take a look at the few.
Yeah, this is really great. I'm pretty sure that this is all from the same challenge. It's all typically looks the same as far as concept of everybody kind of going through and editing photos of their pets, it looks like, or just various animal images that they found and making them a little more dramatic. So this first one is from Liz Candle. I don't know how to, I think I'm pretty sure I butchered that. Okay. Yeah. But this one is really cute. I think this cat's name is Murdoch, and he's very, very cute and sweet looking. And I do like this. Like the contrast is like pretty deep on this, but it looks really nice. I also like that it's like black and white and it has this really nice colored like tube that you're kind of looking through, one of those cat toy tubes. So that's really great. I would have liked to see the original image so that I can gauge like the, what you did to it, but it looks nice. And then this from Lafayette VooDoo, another VooDoo in the chat. How's it going? This is really nice, I think, just because of how dark it actually is, which I think is really interesting. I think it's like probably was a really dramatic photo anyways. And I like the way that a lot, like the ear kind of blends into the background and the neck, the side of the face kind of blends into the background, but there's no denying what you're actually looking at. I also like that it's not just like a straight, like up and down face, like it's got that turn, like he's got his little doggy head turned kind of, and I think that looks really cool. Definitely kind of a dynamic image.
And what I really like about this image is they didn't put the shadows to pure black. That's one big, I wouldn't say mistake that some people do, but you don't always have to have the shadows at pure black and the highlights at pure white. Sometimes, just like this image, you can have the shadows at like a medium gray and the highlights at a medium white, and it will give a really nice effect instead of just having like the punchy colors. So yeah, great job.
Yeah. This one is from Jesus Ramirez. Oh, this is his final pet portrait. Nice. So this one is from Jesus.
Texture. Wow.
That's great. Yeah, on the cat face. That is so good. And this is another one that kind of like part of the animal body and face kind of blends into the back, and I just really like that. I just think that that's super cool. But yeah, that texture like on the top of the head and the ears right there. Oh man.
And even the original image, if you open the original image and zoom in, that's like okay.
Oh, is it on the Behance?
Oh, you can just click on the image, but let's not do it right now because we have other challenges to review. And I'm sure Jesus doesn't need any review.
This one from Woodlander is a photo of a dog he took in Cuba. This one's really nice too. I almost wish that the lightest values were a little brighter though, because I think that where in the other images, like some of the body kind of like melded into the background, I think that happens here too with the hindquarters of the dog, but I'm not so sure that that's the best thing for it, just because it all feels like it's midtones and darks. If that makes sense, unless do you disagree or do you?
No, I think let's just look at the image. Yeah, I think there are some highlights in here, and I think you should totally enhance those highlights to really make them. I'm sorry for saying that, to make them pop. Right, having art director.
Yeah, exactly.
A great way to see if you are having the right exposure is to look at your histogram. So usually the highlights should barely touch the right side of your histogram, and then you know that you have roughly the right exposure. But don't overexpose or you will lose detail.
Yeah.
That looks like a
but aside from that, that's like really good. He's kind of like got his arms and legs crossed, and he's just like, just chilling. Not really sure if he likes you or not. Camilo with the retouching. Wow. This is cool. That's not a lot of really great texture too. This is really neat. Definitely have like a lot of really great like highlights and midtones and shadows and stuff going on in this one. It seems like you maybe cut the head out.
The hair looks a bit cut up. I think you can refine that using the Refine Edge tool, but I think you really did a great job, and you don't, unless you're really looking for it, you have no idea that this was cut out. So maybe just refine those edges at the top a bit, but I mean, you can also just darken them until they disappear. So great job.
Yeah, good stuff.
And the eyes. Most often you should set a highlight on the eyes, as you can see with this image, I believe, by Willie. You can go to the next one. You can really see the eyes do pop. The adjustments of the contrast might be a bit too much. Like some of the shadows are clipping, I believe. They are pure black, so if you were trying to bring them back up, you wouldn't get any data from them. So make sure to not do the adjustments too much with the shadows, or you will lose detail. But overall, I think the contrast is really punchy in this one. I like that. And the face is really nice and vivid. Maybe just go back a bit on the shadow adjustments, and then you're just great.
Yeah, looks good, man. All right, so we got before and after from Sean. So this is the before image that Sean used. Just a beautiful horsey. I love horses. And then this is what he submitted. He wants to know if the texture is too much. Honestly, the texture kind of makes it look like it's like a graphite drawing.
Oh, yeah.
And so if that's something that you're going for, then I think that it's fine. But if you want it to look more realistic, but like kind of have a gritty feel, I might dial the texture back just a little bit, because it's almost edging on making the image look flat. But it looks cool.
I think one way to bring back some of the depth you just mentioned is you could think of using another color for the highlights. So you would use a gradient map to use maybe blue for the shadows, and how about, I don't know, a warm yellow for the highlights. So then you have two colors, and it won't be monochrome anymore, which is one way to bring back some of the colors. And yes,
that sounds good.
This image was edited in Camera Raw.
Raw? Wow, Jan. Wow. Oh, that one actually started to give me a headache. Everybody in this chat that's on like the pun game, like Eric. You guys show up with puns. You don't show up to play around. You guys show up for business.
Okay.
This next one from Alatar is kind of another edit. See, I think this is probably a pretty great example of how a lot of this stuff has been like darkened and things, but you can still see everything that's in the frame.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing that's so black that you don't know what it is. So this is really good. And it's still got that nice texture in it, and I do really like the contrast. I might even want to just see what it would look like if the highlights were slightly brighter, but it's not that big a deal because it looks great, because I don't want you to like also edge on like just making it super washed out. But it looks good to me.
Also, it's really tough to really judge those images because Discord is displaying them at a reduced resolution. So if you actually open the original image and zoom in, sometimes the levels do look different. So you might not have the best judgment on those tones. But yeah, great image.
Jan says they call him the Punisher.
The Punisher. Get out, Jan. I think we have to ban you. All right.
This is so cute. Aww. This is from CC, and this is a little. It's a corgi. Yeah, it does like a little bit. You know what though? I really like this because I think that maybe this image is not the highest quality image ever. However, when brought into and like with the filters being used, it's still got like a pretty awesome dramatic kind of vibe. And sometimes when you use images that aren't like extra HD, sometimes things can get like a little bit muddy. But I think that this one looks pretty cool.
We do recommend sharing at least 1000 by 1000 pixels with us so we can properly look at the image. But you actually did the right thing. You added some grain because most of them you can cheat some resolution by adding some grain. So even if the original image is slightly blurry, you can add some grain, not too much grain, please, to bring back some of the resolution, and it actually looks like the image is sharper, even though it really isn't. But great job.
Even though it isn't. I also like that there's like kind of a blurred kind of border around the edge of it, because then it almost looks like an old photograph, but not quite. It just looks like maybe like a kind of an image you might see in like a fond memories slideshow or something like that. Which I mean that in the best way possible. Like it seems very thoughtful, and I like the way that it came out.
It just needs a caption like "the goodest doggo," right?
The goodest
boy.
Doggo around.
Yeah.
The face when you realize you are the good boy. Is it me?
It looks like a screenshot from a video. I don't know, like an old home movie.
All right. Okay, so this from Ants. Thank you. I really like it when you guys, like, for the purpose of like showcasing, you guys show the before and after in the same image, just so I can see it side by side. And Jan, I'm like almost 100% certain the dog is not thinking that his soul hungers.
Oh boy,
that's horrifying. With this cute corgi that just glares at us, and like he looks like he's enjoying our company, but really he's contemplating like his existence and the relativity of the universe. And I don't know. That's too much. That's too heavy for me. That's too heavy for me, Jan. It's too much.
And when you do share your images and you do include a before and after, make sure to label the before and after. I mean, with this image, it's obvious which one is the before and after, but sometimes it really isn't obvious. And then when I'm giving feedback, I'm thinking like, wait, is this the original? And I'm typing like, hey, you did a great job. And they're like, oh, that's the original. Oops.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, great.
Hey, yeah, great. Well done. So make sure if it's not obvious, do include which one is the before and which one's the after, so we can give you feedback. But this one really looks amazing. The white and the dark colors of the tiger, of the fur, really pop in this image, and I do believe the background is really nice because it is slightly darker than the tiger's image, so the eye of the viewer really focuses on the image. I do believe the eyes could be a bit brighter. They're getting lost between all the bright colors of the fur above the eyes. So maybe you can do some highlights, bring some highlights in there, but overall, really great image. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I think that I like it very specifically too, because the background is a little bit darker than the tiger, so it really makes his face pop.
Make it pop.
And I think, make it pop. Yeah, but I do agree. I think that it would be cool if the eyes popped a little bit more. But it's good. It's good. Oh man, it's a raccoon. I got a thing about raccoons. This is cute. I assume this is the before? No, wait. This the lighter one would probably be
See?
before.
We don't
This
know.
is a good idea, like why we should have. Yeah,
And both look great. I believe the upper one is a bit too bright, and that's why hopefully you darkened it, which would be the right choice.
Yes.
And the subtle vignette around the image is a great idea. So I believe that one is indeed the after image. And yeah, I don't have anything
looks nice.
you should improve.
Yeah, I think this is like a pretty. It's not as dramatic as some of the other ones. It just kind of is like a really nice. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It's a really nice, just kind of like, look, I've corrected this photo. I've made it a little more palatable. It made it like, you know, nicer. And I think you did a good job. Let's see. This from Best B. Castal. Mr. Meow, as seen through my eyes. I love the colors on this, I have to say. You like the chair almost seems like it has like a gradient map. Honestly, maybe it has a gradient map, and then the eyes are colored.
You know, it could be the HSL secondary colors in Camera Raw, or the split toning in Camera Raw. It almost looks like that. But be careful. With those adjustments, the midtones could start to look gray if you adjust too much. So make sure. I think this is borderline gray. Some tones are a bit gray. Maybe you can bring back some of the saturation of those midtones, especially on the fur. You can see it. But overall, I really like how the shadows do have a different color, which is, it looks green on my display, and the highlights are slightly on the red side. So yeah, just be careful not to have really gray midtones. Otherwise, it will take away from the image, which would be really sad because you did great edits to it.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Looks like we got another version from Gerard. That's
so
like
now I'm pretty
darker.
sure that one was the after image.
Yeah, definitely. I almost can't tell. I like both of them, but I almost think that the winner would be like a version that's in between the two.
Yeah, I think the vignette is a bit too much in this, and the highlights are borderline clipping. Some of it on the fur, like, I think they're almost a bit too bright. Maybe you can find a midpoint between both of those images. Yeah, but yeah, so just a way to find those. Okay.
This from JT.
Mr. Meow.
My take on Mr. Meow. Yeah, this is another one that's like kind of like a black and white, and then kind of colored the eyes in. It also looks like it's possible he used an iris blur.
I think it looks more like the inverted texture slider or clarity. I think they used a texture slider and dragged it to the negative, because you can do that. You can use texture, because you can still see some of the details.
Close. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a look. And selective color, some people like it, some don't. Some people just say it looks, selective color is only usable if you have like this stereotypical image of the yellow cab in New York, where only the cab is, the taxi is in yellow. I think it's fine. If you like it, hey, who are we to judge? Who are we to judge?
Yeah.
I think you could even make it more prominent, those green eyes. If you really want them to pop, go for it. Make them green. Make them glow. You could even add a glow around it. Who knows?
Make it pop.
Make it pop.
Make it more interactive.
What do you have to say?
Think bigger, but keep it simple.
See?
Oh my gosh, it's so vague and the exact opposite of what he said at first. All right, we've got this one from
the last image, or two more images, because we want to go.
Oh yeah,
we do have to look back at your work, and we do have to say goodbye. So maybe two more images.
Oh yeah, that's true. So we don't have. I can kind of scroll through here and like look at them though. So there's one, these from JJ. So it looks like you kind of like, this one's like a little bit more saturated. Not seeing a lot of like extra darkness, but I don't know which one is your before and after. So I don't know if you toned it down or if you saturated it.
The lower one is the after image.
Lower one is the after. Okay, so kind of desaturated it a little bit, which is nice. And Gen C, before and after, think there may be some problems with my original photo. I don't know. I kind of like this. It's a little
I think I know what you
hazy around the edges.
Probably using one of the iPhone portrait modes where they blur the background. Yeah, that could be one issue. I would recommend always doing the blur in Photoshop. I can share a pro tip if you like how to do that properly, so you don't get that glow around the fur. But yeah. I think the edit's really great, really moody, and did a great job.
Yeah.
So maybe just one more, and then we can go back to our main cam and wrap the stream up. So we can look one more.
All right. We'll look at this one from Adrim, I think, Adam C. So this is another one. This is one that's just like pure black and white. But again, I think it's another one that's like a pretty darn good example of like darkening things and making things dramatic without kind of blocking the darkest parts from view. Where you can't really discern what's there. So that looks really good. And we do have more. Oh my gosh.
Oh no, you were not supposed to hear that.
No, I heard it.
You didn't hear anything.
Oh.
Oh no.
But I'll just scroll through here just so that I can hide these or highlight these from Leo Evergreen and Damien submitted and Jai right now. Which I think I actually followed Jai right now on Instagram this morning. I recognize that name. Yeah. Claire cool. Louise, BL Siwa, Amber, Julie, Lafayette Voodoo. But, that's the original photo from that other one. That's great. And Elias and Wolfgang, Gabster, Claire Louise again. And I think that's it. So thank you guys so much. I'm sorry we couldn't all get to like everybody's and blow it up and talk about it though.
And of course we will review your work later during the other streams. We as the mentors will go through the work, review some of the work, and make sure that hopefully everyone will get a review. But since there are so many submissions, we can't just review every single one. So if you don't get a review, maybe just review somebody else's work and ask them to review your work in return. Maybe that's one way. But if we don't give you a review, that's not our way of saying like you suck. Like no, we just don't have the time to review every single work on Discord because we would spend the entire day and we couldn't do those streams.
And we love you all. You know, you guys should know that. But we are limited
except
on time.
Oh, you're right there.
I feel personally attacked.
You personally.
So I'm gonna jump back into.
All right. Oh yeah. We should take
this image
just to wrap up.
Just to do like a recap. Now I didn't like get to kind of render every single thing that I wanted, but I think that I kind of got the point across for these 2 days. For I guess what I wanted to show off, and that is like going from a sketch. Adding values to that sketch, dropping in some colors using blending modes, and then going into painting directly in color and kind of showing like my process for evolving. So maybe I can pull up my, we have like a few minutes where I could do this. Maybe I can pull up my Behance real quick just to show you like some 100% like finished ones, just so you guys can see like after you noodle around with colors and you've been painting with color for a while, it does actually start to look pretty great. And let's see. Yeah, this one is one that I did. I actually had this image displayed on the red carpet premiere of Star Wars: The Last Jedi that they had in Los Angeles.
Oh, I saw that.
I had the actress like standing next to it. So like Disney partnered with Tumblr and they did like a art contest that you could enter. And then when all of they chose the winners, and then when the actors walked across the red carpet, the winners who won for submitting a painting of that character, it showed like a wall of those winning entries. And I got lucky enough that mine was like right there next to her. So when I was watching it online, I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I started this one in grayscale. All of them are started in grayscale, but this is like, more examples of like after you paint on it for a while. And of course I spent like several hours on these ones. So these are things that I, would spend more time on than I'm actually allotted during these, but it's pretty fun. There's like a little dark side Luke Skywalker because that would be cool.
I'm afraid I do have to cut you off for now because that's the end of our stream for today. Just look. Let's just look at the schedule one last time. We do have other streams right after this one because this was just the second stream for today. Right after the stream, Andrea Hogg will join us for the XD Daily Creative Challenge, and closing the day, Adobe Live UX UI design with Peter, Evan, and David. They will work in Adobe XD and show you amazing pro tips and work. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much. There we go. Thank you, VooDoo Val. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
joining
Tim.
us. And beautiful, amazing, great work, Val. Do you spend more time in color rend pieces? Yes, of course she does.
Oh, yes. And are we going to get to hear a hit song from
maybe. Who
Uncle
knows?
Roof and the Germans?
But for now,
Yes,
we
let's
do
do
have
it.
to say goodbye. Thank you very much for tuning in today.
Yes,
Make
thank
sure
you.
to tune in tomorrow. We won't be there, but other great streams, including Jesus, will be there. So thank you for watching, and we will see you soon, hopefully.
Adios,
Goodbye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And now I have to turn on the challenge tab.
Oh, yeah. Can I hear it?